Hello, everyone. My name is Primetime Moff, and I am joined by the wonderful Oddimus Prime as we bring to you the latest in our series, Transformers 84 to 24, 40 years of rolling out. So, whether you're watching us or you're indeed listening to us, thank you very much for joining us. Now, our show looks through the 40 years of the fantastic Transformers. We look weekly at each single year and we chat about the shows, the toys, and have fun doing it and eventually start to spend more money than we should have doing this. So if you're new to the show, let's say we cover every single year. We'll have some special episodes throughout the year as well. Things like TF Nation and stuff like that. So please like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications to ensure you don't miss anything on this incredible journey. Simon, thank you very much for joining me once again. How are you this week?
I'm good. Yes, all good. All good in the hood.
Glad to hear it. So, we are continuing on our journey through Beast Wars. We are turning into 1999. One interesting bit that we never really have talked about is the fact that actually, as much as Transformers is very much a Hasbro product that we know and love, we think of Hasbro when we think of it. Beast Wars wasn't really so much directly Hasbro. It was more by this point they had bought them, but it was Kenner that actually produced them. And this was at the point 1999. Actually, I think actually if we go back when it launched, it was more a let's experiment, but let's pass it off to one of our subsidiary companies because I think they didn't see it having the future it now has. I don't think anybody at that point thought this was going to be a marquee product or a toy line that they were going to continue to make toys of for the next 30 years at the point when Beast Wars started. But that's the point where it was moderately successful enough that Hasbro pulled it back into its main bit and started to think of actually what can they do with it. The final year of the cartoon airs in this year, where the toys are also pushing into Transmetal 2s, continuing on the idea of the cyborg and beasts and crazy, wonderful designs. We've got the continuation of the size classes in this year, but we also have the Japanese, and you talked about this last week, and we're not going to massively talk about the Japanese stuff because as we're going through the years and we're starting to get busier, where there was points in the early 90s where we were kind of struggling, thinking, what are we going to talk about? There's so much to talk about in the upcoming years that we are going to try and kind of, we'll maybe mention aspects, but we're not going to focus on it. And that one this year is the kind of Beast Wars Neo. So Beast Wars Neo, we will touch on the toys because some of them are bonkers. I'm not going to delve into them. I'm not going to give it away, but they are a bit crazy. With Takara going into that mad phrase. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So let's talk about what happens in 1999. So the Beast Wars ends, the show finishes. The show itself has a really good story arc throughout. And one thing we said we would do is we would kind of touch at this point at the end of the three seasons. Let's give a kind of summary of what we felt watching the show and what we enjoyed about it, and maybe highlight some aspects. And for me, you said it, and I'm going to steal your thunder. The Dinobot arc is absolutely fantastic. I know we talked about it in the very first episode, but the aspect of him being, I'm a Predacon, challenges Megatron, doesn't work out for him, so he then challenges Optimus, and Optimus does what Optimus does, and does the kind bit of actually, I'm not going to finish you, join us, be part of us, and the way he connects his relationship with Rat Trap from the very beginning when they didn't like each other to the end of their arc. How do you not do spoilers for this? But at the point where so Dinobot, as 99% of the population will dies in the show, the way he dies, the way the whole story goes is just it's moving in a way that a cartoon really shouldn't be moving. But an absolute fantastic arc. Your thoughts on Dinobot's story through Beast Wars?
I think, I mean, you pretty much covered it. He has this sort of redemption arc sort of thing that he realizes that he's not doing what he should be doing. He wants power to begin with, but then as things get on, he becomes a lot more noble, and in the end sacrifices himself until he's cruelly brought back as a mindless zombie, for all intents and purposes, which was harsh and had a equally harsh toy. Is the toy for that was a spiky, horrible looking
Yeah,
thing. But yeah, no, he was amazing. But I'm gonna sidestep and talk
go for
about
it.
some of my absolute favorite character moments and stuff in the show. Silverbolt. I
Oh,
mean,
yes.
he's just he is the most heroic. He should be an Autobot. He's just so heroic. He's got that whole sort of old worldy chivalry, sort of knight of the realm kind of thing going for him, and his perpetual wooing of Black Arachnia. Yeah, he's it's brilliant, so good,
As
so fun.
as and actually that romantic arc is just fantastic. Like there's so many bits of the characters. You know,
Mm.
Tarantulas being such a maniacal,
Oh, of course.
sneaky character is just fabulous. Like it's so cleverly done.
Oh, and let's not forget Waspinator being
Oh,
Kenny and getting killed like every single episode.
yes.
There's a brilliant cosplay at TFN a few years ago that somebody played him as a cube with his one arm that was dragging himself along, where he gets compacted into a cube.
Oh,
Uh, that
brilliant.
was brilliant. Oh, see, we had G1 Starscream turned up and possessed him
Mhm.
at one point. That was fun. But I mean, talking about so with Silverbolt and Black Arachnia, there's that sort of love story. But you also had Air Razor and uh,
Tigatron.
Tigertron. Yes, I'm going to call him Tiger Claw, but
Yeah.
that's who they who they become when they're sort of mashed together.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, again, that was, and it's so a lot. There's a lot of discourse about male and female transformers and stuff like that, but Beast Wars did it well. Didn't think anything of it, and just had these male and female characters that were integral parts of the team from pretty much the start, and had love stories going off with them, and nobody really batted an eyelid, which I think is great.
Mhm.
So yeah.
No, it really was. And then you had the arcs of, we touched about it last week of Rampage and Depth Charge. Just there's so many solid characters. You know, we talked from the outset that the show didn't do the Toy of the Week gimmick. At your point from the very first episode that they had set up, how are we introducing characters? Look, we're going to set a key pivotal story point right now that then allows us to do all these protoforms and bring characters in and allow them to have a gimmick. Great. And then the way that they transferred characters from one to another, Cheetor. So who got three modes? Was it only, if I'm right, Cheetor, Optimus, and Megatron in the show that got three?
Rat Trap did do the wheeling thing.
No, I don't mean sorry modes. I meant three versions. Sorry, so that you've got
Oh,
like
right.
normal, Transmetal, Transmetal two. Sorry, I know you're right. Three modes. The the
Yeah,
V-
no,
the,
no.
the rat trap, the rat trap with Dinobot ride them is like it's such a fun thing, and I think everybody tried to recreate that. More so with the Transart rat trap and MP Megatron, it's kind of a bit more achievable. But yeah, I think I'm sure it's only Optimus gets his three modes. Megatron gets his stunning third mode, which we will talk about when we get to toys. And Cheetor gets his what's it called? Does he call himself Transmetal 2 Cheetor?
He is
Can't
Transmetal
remember.
too, yeah.
I can't remember if he called himself something different in the show. Just there's something in my head there. Felt as if he did, but
I
Cheetor, even
seem
Cheetor
to, yeah.
becoming more less childish than he kind of was at the beginning. But the characters in the show, I don't think there's been such a strong character
No.
development show since Beast Wars, and it certainly was obviously more than the first iteration. Our original Transformers does not have the same vibe. The other aspect that comes out this year, and I'm curious of your experience. Did you get to play the Transmetals Beast Wars game, the fighting game?
Oh no.
I had it. I had it for the PlayStation,
Uh,
and I'm not a big beat 'em up fan, so it wasn't exciting to me. But it was a Transformers game, and that's always going to be good. That's always something that appeals to me. But it was yeah, it was interesting. So if you don't have much memories, we'll not focus too much on it. But it's a fairly okay game. I think it came out in N64 as well, to be fair. So
not
people
entirely
had it on
sure I
that as
even knew
well.
it existed.
Oh, there's your homework, and you
Okay.
can get it on most emulations and stuff. I might have an
Nice.
ISO if you want to hook you up with it. So I think we should then let's talk about the toys. Let me have. This is where I see if I can get my technology to work and make sure that we can share these. So this is the bit we talked. We never really talked about last week. I said that 1998 was the year that I felt I had the most toys of. But one thing that we spoke about beforehand is that the only toy line, but the only real subsection of toys that I went completist on was the Transmetals. And whilst I have more, there are some that I would like to improve on because, as we talked about last week, um, the chrome on them can be susceptible to flaking. So there are some of them that I have that I would like to get better versions of, but I also know that the ones that are better versions could eventually get to that same point as well. So it doesn't really overly stress me to get to better versions of it, knowing that they could kind of crash down the same way as well. So we come back into the toys again with basic class. So we have Night Glider, Optimus Minor. So Optimus Minor, Simon, do you count him in your primes and primals? Do you have him? Do you or do
I
you not count him?
so I hate him. Um I I hate him. I just he's the most uninspired transformation.
It really
He
is.
looks he looks he looks awful and I just hate him. But I mean technically he's an Optimus, so technically I should have him. Technically,
But
but
you
he's
don't.
not. Yeah, he's called Optimus, but he's not a prime. Yeah, I hate
No.
him. Although, fun fact,
Yeah.
not a single one of the basic classes are in the show.
No. No. There obviously we'll talk about them in the future. There's three of these that end up in a future cartoon, but yeah, you're right. There's none of these basic ones in them. I think that this is the probably the weakest of the basics lines. They're
Mm.
not bad, but there's some that are not great. Like Optimus Minor is not a great toy. Stink Bomb and Spitter, I always thought were fun from these. Weird and wonderful lines, and then you have Sonar and Scarum. Again, they're okay. They're not the greatest set of the basics, but as somebody who loves the Transmetals, I still think there's fun aspects of them. They still have beautiful chrome. Like Spitter is the standout for me in the basic class for his colours. The blue on him, the green on him are just stunning colours.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
again, they're not bad. They're not bad toys at all. My Scarum is one that I would like to replace as the flake. The chrome and him is started to flake quite bad. So then we move on. Ah, good shout, yeah. So we move on to the deluxe class. So in the deluxe class, one bit we're not going to really focus on too much because there's other points throughout the line where this happens is this is the heavy the first real one where it's like let's do explosives in repainted colors. So we've got we have Fox Kids versions of them, we have tape versions of them. There's loads of different options where some of these toys get repainted a couple of times and get re-released. So it would be crazy to go into the full depth of them. Some of them are quite nice. The Waspinator Fox Kid's quite nice, but there's quite a few that are repainted. So the newer kind of molds in this, we have the Transmetal 2 Cheetor, we have the Iguanus, we have Jawbreaker, we have Prowl, and again, there's two versions of Prowl, black or white. And we have Ramulus, and then we have Scourge. Again, not they're new names. Some of them are obviously new names from G1 characters, but I'm not throwing back to G1 characters. No, Scourge and Prowl don't really relate to their previous ones. They're again, when we get to the Transmetals 2, they're fun, but they don't have the same charm, in my opinion, as the original Transmetals. What's your thoughts on the Transmetals 2 toys?
Yeah, I think this is where they're starting to move a little bit too far into not really knowing what they're doing, if that makes sense. So they stop looking like what they're supposed to look like so much. I mean, they did it with Transmetals 1, but even more so. I mean, Cheetor is like some kind of. I mean, even in the show, it's like he's an aberration.
Yeah,
Like it's almost like a werewolf sort of aspect of him, which I mean, it's fine, but it seems less designed and less purposeful and more accidental, if that makes sense, in terms of what they look like. They're more monstrous.
yes, yeah, that's a good way to
But
talk about it. I think that the monstrous is a good way to think of it. Yeah,
yeah, and it's fine. And it seems to be, yeah. I'm not a big fan of Transmetals 2 for the most part, to be completely blunt. Some of them are all right. They're not very inspired in transformation. They're not very inspired in I mean, how they look. They seem a bit generic robot monstery things. Does
yeah,
that make
yeah,
even some sense?
yeah.
And
They lose
the
the charm. They've
transformations on
lost
them.
the charm.
Ooh,
They've lost the charm in
yeah.
the first Transmetals. And you're right. They kind of go the monster. I never really thought about it like that, but actually, they kind of like Cheetor's very Frankenstein-y feel. Like, so I
Yeah.
think that's a good way to think of them.
Yeah, and those Fox Kids repaints. Who thought taking really cool looking toys and repainting them grey and brown was a good idea?
It's just the Machine Wars version, isn't it? Really, like it's taking
Yeah,
the Transmetal Tarantulas, for example, is one of the coolest Transmetals ones toys, and then you kind
yeah,
of just make them flat grey, and
yeah.
it's not inspiring. It's not inspiring in the slightest. So I
No,
agree with you, but yeah, it's probably very a Machine Wars kind of feel.
yeah. Again, Return of the Grey. Yeah. I mean, I like Prowl. He's quite fun. It's always good to have an owl. And Scourge is actually a really fun figure.
Yes.
But yeah, not their greatest moment, I would say, which is unsurprisingly the last dregs of the line. So there we go. Should we
Uh,
move on?
we will, yes. And then we go into the Mega Class, and this is the opposite, but I actually quite like both Black Arachnia and Cyber Shark. I think they're both
Oh
kind of
yeah,
fun toys. Black Arachnia is challenging. Maybe doesn't it doesn't stand in robot mode. I always find it a real challenge, and doesn't really look like Black Arachnia for a show. But it's a nice fun toy.
yeah.
And then Cyber Shark's colours. The Cyber Shark's chrome, the way the colour comes in the chrome is stunning. And then a bright green G2 feeling gun and missile set to go with them.
Yeah, I love Cybershark in both this version and a version we'll talk about another time. He's just a really, really great looking figure, but unfortunately he does suffer from a transformer that turns into a sharkitis, which is he is completely static.
Yes,
Completely.
yes, yes.
You can move his fins, but that's actually it. You can't even close his mouth because you've
Yep.
got a giant missile launcher in there and his feet don't bend that way. So he is a toy that you can do literally nothing with in alt mode.
Yep.
His
Yep.
bot mode is amazing. It's a bit because of the way he's shaped, because they've got that sort of, they tried to make him look dynamic, so he's sort of bent
Yeah.
round.
And he does
But
look
that
dynamic, like but he's just that's
looks
it. All he
amazing.
can do is
Just
that.
you can't do anything, yeah. But that has sort of a knock-on effect in his bot mode because his back kibble is at a funny angle, so it sort of sits a bit funny. And as you said with Black Arachnia, her gigantic spider butt does have an impact on her in robot mode because she just falls over the whole time. And she had really loose legs as well. I've never held one that had really firm legs. Anyway, Ultra Class.
Ultra
Oh,
class. Now
such
this
lovely.
is amazing. So I've already said I have all the Transmetal 2s. My Tiger Hawk, I got a auto assembly actually, and it's not the best. It wasn't the best condition then, and it's flaked a bit since then. It's one toy that I would happily pay money for a really good condition of, to experience a really good condition of it, because I think I would appreciate the feeling, because all the rest of them I bought at the time. So every other one, Tiger Hawk was the only one I never got back in the day.
Hmm.
And then picked them up excitedly at a stall at an auto assembly, and then was like, oh, I bought a not very good one, and because I didn't have it, I'm like, oh, I didn't buy another one, but I would love to get it. Transmetal 2 Megatron, we'll hold off talking about. That might be somebody's pick of the week, so we'll
I
go into it a bit more.
remember
But
the old,
uh,
yeah. Sorry.
what were you
I was
saying?
going to say, I remember seeing the Ultra Classes in the shops. They, in my memory, which is probably wrong, they appeared in the shops over here around about the same time that the first wave of Beast machines was
Yeah,
turning up.
yeah.
And I remember twice seeing Megatron in a shop and not getting him.
Mhm.
The first time I saw Tiger Hawk and Megatron, and I am about getting either, and then didn't buy either. And then the next time I went there, they'd both gone. And I then saw Megatron, and they also had Rampage at a Tesco's, but I saw Megatron in someone else's trolley, and that was the other time I saw him in the shop.
Oh,
Yeah, I
oh, that's
know.
horrible.
And they were on
Oh,
offer. This was a few years later. They were like 12 quid or something
wow,
stupid. I was gutted.
wow.
Anyway, but yes, we'll
I
talk
never
about
saw, I
Megatron
never
in a bit.
ever saw, never ever saw Tiger Hawk in person. Uh, that is the entire only reason I never had him, is I never saw him, because I picked up every other one, because I just loved this line. Even the some of the weaker Transmetal 2s, I still was like, but it's just so, it's the chrome. Chrome is just so attractive. Even on the toys that aren't as good, the chrome is just stunning. So we'll talk about Megatron in a little bit.
Mhm.
I did say that, as much as we're not talking about Japanese, I can't not talk about
You can't.
Beast
You
Wars.
have to.
It's
You have to.
just, and I'm not going. We're not going to get into them all. Let's just pick
No.
one or two of these. So, for me, in this kind of first, the deluxe class, the is the pony, just the mat kick is just wacky and weird and wonderful. And obviously they did a little bit of repaints in these and a little bit of remolding. To be fair, they took some of the original ones and remolded them a wee bit. And then Quadra, Corrada, like
Corrado.
just
Yeah.
wacky and wonderful.
Absolutely.
It, it
Um.
it's the one bit the Japanese did really well, was kind of, they weren't afraid just to go a bit crazy with some of the stuff and just be like, let's just make it a bit mad. And they certainly leaned into that in Beast Wars 2 and Beast Wars Neo, to be fair. And some of these are in that kind of bit.
Yeah.
And then we go.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this is a line I had a fair few of. I bought sort of fairly way after the fact, but yeah, they're just amazing. Killer Punch, absolutely crazy. I love them. Anyway,
It's certainly what I like. It's not a line I went out of my way to pick up. I've saw them at TFNs and stuff, and I was like, I've stayed off buying them because I'm like, I worry that I would buy one and then I would go, I want to get
Oh
two or
yeah,
three. There
you'll want
is
all of them.
there is one coming up that I'm like, I think I would make that rule for this one. But let's move on then to our next one, which is ultra class. Well, I say I feel like I'm forgetting what is an ultra class I do have one, because Big Convoy is absolutely fabulous. I love Big Convoy. My copy of Big Convoy is not great. Again, another auto assembly pickup that I would happily pick up a newer version of, but it's a woolly mammoth it turns into. I know he's not really prime, he's Convoy, but let's just call him Convoy for the sake of it. And then we also have the fact they did a black version of it as a Toys R Us exclusive. A
Hmm.
great fun mold. And it's a line that probably recently, and this is what's wonderful about Hasbro now. You know, we are in a prime time. I was going to say that's so cheesy. A prime period of what Hasbro are doing and bringing us modern version of toys from all lines. You know, we are really celebrating the 40th anniversary of this franchise. And thankfully, not just doing let's do all of G1 cast again. They're going, let's go through and pick some absolute brilliant toys from yesteryears, from previous lines, and let's do it. Legacy feels like such a celebration of 40 years of Transformers before it even hit the 40th. It's picked some absolute brilliant toys and brought them up to date. And Magmatron, I would never have expected, if you'd given me money on what they'd have picked, even just from this line, I would never have picked them picking a Magmatron. There was no part of me thought we are going to get a Magmatron, and yet they have given us a Magmatron this year. Just crazy. What are your
Um,
thoughts on the Ultra Class? We'll talk about Mega Class in a minute, but the Ultra Class.
so I mean, obviously, Big Convoy is just it's just amazing. I think I've got a couple of versions of him knocking around. I think the first one I got was the Universe version of Nemesis Prime, not Black Big
Ooh,
Convoy, but
nice.
the Nemesis Prime version that was effectively Black Big Convoy, but a bit different. But we cannot skirt over this line even quickly without mentioning Heinrad. Heinrad, what do you know about him?
Not a single thing.
Okay. I I am not an expert. I do not know a massive amount about him, so I'll be very, very quick. But he's sort of a raccoon type creature that in robot mode has a clock in his chest, has visible globular areas between his legs, and carries a bottle of sake. It's bonkers. There are reasons
It's
and stuff for
bonkers.
it, but he is absolutely bonkers. And Magmatron is amazing. Shall we move on to the two Mega Class figures that exist?
Two Mega Class figures, yes. And again, we go into the transforming giraffes, which we won't go into detail on, but a transforming giraffe called Long Rack, just
It's we'll get to
because.
him. Um, Survive came in a 2-pack with Killer Punch, and possibly the career version. I'm not entirely sure, but I had that. Survive is amazing. He's exactly Polar Claw, but brown. He still has the bat, but it's a different coloured bat. But a great figure still. And I know how much you like Polar Claw.
Colo is on that
Um,
list as I've thought you, so yeah. Um, did you have Survivor, or are you just Polar Claw? I know you've
oh
got
no,
a few of these.
I've got Survive. Sorry,
Huh?
I've got Polar Claw still. Survive, and when I went through my period of buying a few of these, I got the 2-pack of Survive because I wanted Killer Punch,
Right.
because he's called Killer Punch. And Gildark, I really like, and Magmatron I had, and Big Convoy, and a couple of others. But yes, shall we move on to?
Yes. So we're going to talk now about our toys of the year because actually we both have wonderful toys. This Transmetal 2 Dragon Megatron is one of my absolute favorite toys, and I remember getting him. I get kind of like normal stores. I didn't see him or who was that one? Tigerhawk. Tigerhawk. I didn't
Titlehawk,
see them
yeah.
in normal stores. I got this fella in cash and carry. The infamous story I've told a few times about cash and carry, who'd bought over another cash and carry stock and had loads of stuff. And the only Beast Wars, but they had a wall, a literal wall of this guy. And the box is big and imposing. When you see it on a wall, I remember just walking in being like, oh, I need to own this toy. And I absolutely love it. We were talking beforehand about my love of this toy, and I actually then bought the KO oversized version of the recent Hasbro one, and it's stunning, but it's not. It doesn't really pull off the crazy wackiness of this original one. This original one is just something else with its rubbery tail, with its crazy Megatron face. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on it? You're a bit of a fan of this as well, aren't you?
He's a great. I mean, what? So you've got a face that is angry robot face. You've got transparent parts. You've got chromed parts. You've got a bendy necked dragon head that is activated with a little lever. You've got and this is almost baffling, but you've got a pilot seat. This is something we haven't touched upon with these.
Oh yeah.
A few of the Transmetal 2 and Transmetal figures had pilot seats, which made no sense in terms of the show and everything else. But Prime had one, Optimal Optimus, and Megatron's got one. I think Tiger Claw's got one as well. But Megatron's one, not only has he got a pilot seat that's completely unnecessary, but it's gyroscopically so it moves when you depending on the mode he's in. Bonkers, but amazing. And he just looks so good. He has sort of parts to look like he can do a third mode, but not really well.
Nobody does that third mode. You're keeping it in robot or dragon mode. You're not doing that enough.
It's not. I do like his little head poking out of his back end. It's kind of fun.
I think the original does the dragon mode better than the modern one, but I think the modern one does a really nice robot mode. It's kind of probably a bit more posable because it's not got the same challenges with the arm. And I've got literally beside me inspiration for this. I have the oversized one, and it's gorgeous. It's a very well done modern version of the original toy.
Yeah. No, the big dragon arm, it's problematic because it's so big and heavy, and it's so long as well that his other arm just looks tiny. And I think they did a better version of him in Beast Machines, the robot mode anyway. But we'll get to that. So I mean, it's amazing, and everybody should at least once have a play of that figure.
Okay, let's move on to your toy of the year then, which is, when it decides to come up, it is.
Yay!
I don't even know how you explain it.
Right, so I got him because
give the highlights.
Yeah. I mean, I got him because, as I said, I was buying the odd bit of Beast Wars in the air, and I'd seen pictures of him a few times, and he's just bonkers. It's a really nice giraffe mode, but again, with a lot of these figures, they are 100% static in robot mode. Beast mode, with one notable exception on Long Rack. His tongue is posable. You got a little thing where you can push out, and his little tongue flicks in and out so that he can lick tall leaves. I think his eyes move as well. I could be wrong on that. It's a while since I haven't got him anymore, and I haven't touched him in a while. But he's got quite a complex transformation to get into that little robot mode, and the robot mode's brilliant. He's got, I forgot, he also has missiles in his knees. See those red bits on his knees?
Yeah.
They're missiles. because on his back you can see those 2 rocket launchers. Brilliant. And one of his arms is a giant grabbing device slash giraffe. It's an entire giraffe neck. That pops out, has a grabby claw. It's great. And then he has a third mode, which is, I mean, I guess it's some form of tank, because it has his
Weird.
missile knees at the front there and his big grabby grab. It's absolutely bonkers, and I love it.
Well, that's our toys of the year. You know, we're kind of coming to the end of the Beast era at this point, or the Beast Wars era, to be fair, at this point. There's some absolute highlights throughout that. You know, some crazy, wonderful changes in how they design stuff. The one thing that the Beast Wars era brought us was ball joints and posability. There is an incredible change from what we had before to some of those stoic G1 bots to some of the beautiful, beautiful posability we saw in Beast Wars. So that has been a look back at Transformers in 1999. The 90s are finishing. We're getting through the 90s. We're about to move into 2000s. A crazy, crazy time. We hope you've enjoyed this. And if you have, we ask you to like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, make sure you don't miss anything on this incredible journey. And remember, we produce multiple mini episodes and additional weekly content that you can see on our channel throughout the week. Simon, thank you very much for joining me in this journey through Beast Wars. We will
You're very
see
welcome.
each other again next week as we move into Beast Machines. And thank you very much for all your insights. And you've had a lot more of these kind of more Japanese stuff than I have. So thank you for your insight in that.
All good.
Right. That's us for this week. And we will see you again next week. Take care, all.
Bye.